Pompeii's Roman brothel. Why you wouldn't last until morning. Close your eyes for just a moment. You are in Pompeii. And before you stands the Lupanar, the infamous Wolf's Den, a Roman brothel frozen in time. But here's the twist. You're not just a traveler. You've brought your 21st century mind with you. You know about hygiene, about human rights, about trauma and dignity. And with that knowledge, you're about to step into a place where none of it exists. The question isn't just could you survive one night here? The real question is, with everything you know today, what would you do differently if you were trapped in the past? Because history is more than ruins and ash. It's a mirror, showing us not only how far we've come, but how fragile progress really is. 1. Daily survival in the Roman brothel, hygiene, health, and hidden dangers. The first thing that hits you when you step inside isn't what you see. It's what you smell. The air is heavy, sour, damp with sweat and smoke. The rooms are carved from stone, each barely large enough for a wooden bed. There's no window, no breeze, no clean water flowing anywhere. You suddenly realize, this isn't just a brothel. It's a health disaster waiting to happen. Your modern mind immediately notices the invisible killers. The bed linens, never washed. The floors, a breeding ground for lice and fleas. And the water, stagnant, shared, contaminated, would spread diseases faster than fire. Romans didn't believe in germs. They thought sickness came from bad air. But you know better. You recall Marcus Terentius Varro, a Roman scholar who once suggested that tiny invisible creatures caused disease. His ideas were ignored for centuries. Standing here, you know he was right. And that simple habits, like boiling water or washing hands, could have saved countless lives. And it isn't just infections. Imagine the women here, forced to work night after night, with no understanding of reproductive health. Complications from childbirth, untreated infections, and malnutrition were common. A scraped knee today might mean a tetanus shot. Here, it could mean death. The harsh truth is this. Survival in the Lupanar wasn't about strength or beauty. It was about sheer luck. Whether your body could withstand the invisible dangers surrounding you. Small lesson. What feels ordinary to us, clean water, soap, fresh air, would have been revolutionary here. Sometimes, progress is measured not in great inventions, but in the small, everyday practices that keep us alive. And yet, hygiene was only part of the struggle. Behind every sick body was an even harsher reality, an economy built on exploitation, where survival meant surrendering freedom for coins. That's where our journey takes us next. 2. The business of exploitation. Power, money, and social control. Step deeper into the Lupanar, and you begin to notice something unsettling. This isn't just about survival. It's about an entire system. Every coin exchanged, every painted fresco on the walls, every name carved into the stone. It all points to one truth. This was a business. And like many businesses of the Roman world, it was built on exploitation. For the Romans, brothels served a purpose. They claimed it kept order, protected respectable women, and maintained social control. But what they really created was an economy where people, mostly women, often children, were turned into commodities. What you see as human trafficking, they saw as normal commerce. And yet, if you look closer, you also see untapped potential. These workers weren't just bodies. They were multilingual, skilled in reading people, experienced in negotiation and hospitality. In another world, they could have been translators, merchants, or advisors. Imagine if they had been allowed to form something like a collegia, Rome's version of a guild. Instead of handing over everything to a Lano, the pimp, they could have run cooperatives, shared profits, and gained independence. History gives us glimpses of what might have been. Roman women like Livia and Agrippina influenced politics at the highest levels. And centuries earlier, Aspasia of Miletus was celebrated as a philosopher and advisor in Athens. The truth is, the intelligence and capability were always there. It was the system that denied them. Small lesson: a society thrives not when it controls its people, but when it empowers them. By locking people into exploitation, Rome wasted human potential that could have made their civilization even greater. But even if you managed to change the economics, something far deeper was at play. Behind every transaction was a person carrying wounds you couldn't see, the weight of trauma, loneliness, and a world that refused to acknowledge their dignity. And that brings us to the final, most human struggle of all. 3. Beyond the ashes. Trauma, human dignity, and the eruption that froze it all. As you linger inside those narrow stone rooms, you begin to notice something deeper than disease or money. The silence, the blank stares, the way people move without emotion, as if they've left their minds somewhere far away. Today, we would call it trauma, dissociation, the quiet survival instinct of a person who has endured too much. But the Romans had no word for it. They saw it as obedience, as discipline. You, with your 21st century mind, know better. You see human beings trapped in cycles of psychological pain. Look closer at the graffiti on the walls. At first it seems crude, lists of names, explicit drawings, fragments of jokes. But behind the humor is a cry for connection. Livia is the best, one man scratched into the stone. It isn't just a review. It's loneliness etched into history. People came here not only for pleasure, but for a brief illusion of intimacy in a society that rarely offered it. And then comes the rumble. Mount Vesuvius begins to stir. The ground trembles beneath your feet. The lamps flicker, and outside, a column of ash begins to rise into the sky. Within hours, this entire world will be buried. The workers you just met, the clients, the owners, they'll vanish, their final moments preserved in volcanic stone. It's haunting, isn't it? Because the tragedy wasn't just the eruption. It was that an empire capable of aqueducts, amphitheaters, and philosophy still couldn't recognize the dignity of the most vulnerable people within it. Small lesson. Human progress isn't only measured in monuments or inventions. It's measured in compassion. The ruins of Pompeii remind us that brilliance without humanity crumbles just as easily as stone under ash. And so, as the dust settles in your imagination, the question lingers. If you were truly there, with your modern knowledge and empathy, what would you have done? That is where our journey finds its answer, in the lesson that still echoes across 2,000 years. When the ash finally fell, Pompeii was sealed in silence. Yet through that silence, a message survived. The frescoes, the graffiti, the frozen expressions, they remind us that history isn't just about emperors, battles, or monuments. It's about ordinary people. People who laughed, suffered, dreamed, and endured. People whose humanity was often denied, but never erased. And here's the truth. You wouldn't survive a night in the Roman brothel, not because of the danger of disease or even the eruption, but because your modern heart would break. You would feel the weight of exploitation, the injustice of wasted potential, the deep ache of human dignity ignored. And that pain, that inability to accept what was once considered normal, is proof that humanity has grown. The ultimate lesson? Progress isn't only about technology or wealth. It's about empathy, about refusing to accept systems that strip people of their worth. Every time we fight for fairness, for safety, for dignity, we're writing a different ending to stories like those of the Lupanar. So now, I want to ask you, if you carried your modern knowledge back into the past, what would you change? And maybe the better question is, what can you change in the present, right here, right now? Because history isn't just something we study, it's something we carry forward. And the choices we make today will decide what kind of ruins we leave behind for future generations to study. If this journey through Pompeii made you think differently about the past and about our own world, hit that subscribe button, share this video, and tell me in the comments, what forgotten corner of history should we travel to next? The past is full of warnings. The future is full of possibilities. And together, We get to choose which one we follow.